and welcome to Let Me Ask My Sister, the podcast where we overthink life so you don't have to. We're your hosts, Erica and
Aoife. So pull up a seat, siblings, and let me ask you this.
A quick trigger warning before you begin this episode. It references sexual violence, sexual assault and rape.
All of the opinions shared in this podcast are purely our own. We are just reacting to what's being reported in the media and sharing our own opinions on it. We are not doing any investigative journalism here, so treat everything from here on out as purely alleged.
So the first half of this part 2 of the downfall of Married at First Sight in reality television was recorded before BBC's Panorama documentary came out. We will dive into that in the second half of this episode. But for now, here's the continuation of our conversation from last week.
We chatted about, like you said, the women a lot. But what I found really interesting when you'd filled me in before was what you were saying about a lot of the men on it and how horrible they were. And I suppose the question of why are some of them given that platform?
Given this platform. Well, so, and again, this is another thing. And you have to remember, just to mention the women one more time, you're pairing these men that we're going to talk about with these women who are, okay, so Alyssa isn't self-conscious whatsoever. Stella didn't seem self-conscious, but a lot of the other main characters did. So one of the main villains in this is Gia. She very clearly, I think, went on for clout. I think that is fair to say. I think a lot of them do. And when it comes to any sort of reality TV show, there is a part of you that is going on for attention. They would like the idea to be potentially a celebrity or to get followers or to do whatever. And that is true.
Yeah, I even think looking back to, because when we were chatting about first dates, I was thinking about, do you remember the show Blind Date?
Blind Date?
You probably were too young, but it was with Cilla Black. It's Blind Date, where there's the 3 contestants and there's 3 contestants and then one person is asking the questions. And then
the screen in the middle.
Yeah.
I have an idea for a new reality TV show that brings that into it again.
Oh, cute. The OG reality TV dating shows. But the people who are going on that, even then, were they looking for their 15 minutes? Was anyone going on Blind Date looking for love?
I'd say there's a mix. I think because one contestant has come out and said this, no, I think he was I did go on hoping that I would find love. And I do know someone. Yeah. But he was but he admits that he was no, I think, so his point was, I think there's people that go on because they want to bring attention to their business or they want to bring attention to something in particular. And then there's people that go on that want to bring attention to themselves as an influencer. But they're both. So there's another reason, and then the love on top of it, because there's different reality TV shows that obviously you can go on. There's some people that will go kind of on any reality TV show, like one of the guys in this, Scott. So he had already been on about 2 or 3 other reality show types. So he was so he's kind of depicted already once they announced who it was going to be. As this person is oh, here he comes, glory hunting for his 15 minutes of fame again.
Yeah.
And he was paired with Gia. So Gia, again, villain of the story.
Quick question. Yeah. What was he on before?
I don't know, some Australian stuff. Okay. Yeah. And he was kind of seen as the dopey, buff guy. But Gia, again, single mom. She is very much she came in looking for drama. She came in being I'm the star of the show. I'm the top dog. Bow down to me. I don't like you. You're not going to be in that very long. She really came in channeling all that energy to the extent that you're oh, that's obviously not going to work, babe. You're coming in too hard here. Yeah. But she in basically the same clip, she was talking about, she was I don't care. I love having, she's a big boob job. She's I love having my breasts out. I men love it, blah, blah, talking about all this and how proud she was. And then in the same clip, she was talking about how she was bullied for being so flat chested and she was called a skateboard for years. And all this kind of stuff. And you're watching it being have you not connected the dots here? This wasn't for you. I perceived that she went through this surgery to combat those comments that were put on her that she absorbed. And that's why she's doing all this. It's not for her. It's for,
I don't know. I think
there's a
I
mix
don't
there.
know. Yeah, I think when it comes to your body, like, and boobs are such a, like, I mean, I think because like like a boob job is quite a kind of more typical surgery that has always been like around and discussed and whatever. And that, like, you know, as teenagers, certainly like anyone with a flat chest has always been saying, oh yeah, that they'd get a boob job when they're, well, as soon as I turn 25, I'm
Yeah.
getting a boob job kind of thing. So yeah, I don't know. I mean,
It's nothing about her getting the boob job. By all means, get the boob job. But the
yeah,
way she was talking about her body, and then the way she mentioned the bullying and stuff in the past.
yeah.
I just thought her insecurities came out so obvious from the get-go.
Okay.
Which is another reason why I was
Yeah.
like, I don't see why you were allowed on the show.
Oh, yeah.
Because she was just so insecure. So then she was paired with Scott. Scott was kind of, again, was on this for a little while. Bless him. He just kind of seemed to go along with them, and they were kind of boring, to be totally honest with you. But they were like, we're a power couple, we're a power couple. Until some other bits came out later on.
Yeah.
And now Scott is kind of being seen as, oh, he was being strung along by Gia the entire time. I don't think he was. At the very end of it, he was kind of seen as, oh, you know, I gave her everything and she didn't care about me. She was using me. I think we can kind of park that with him, to be totally honest with you. But there were two other people who were on this show that I don't think should have been. And it's similar stuff in the past as well. And those two people are Chris and Tyson, I think his name was. I don't even want to remember it because I'm like, you're so awful. I don't want to know about you at all.
Oh.
So Chris was the first one, and then when he left, Tyson was brought in after. They were both open misogynists.
Okay.
Like,
as in
self-identifying
or what? Like,
I don't like woke culture.
oh
A
God.
woman should be
Yeah.
in the home. A woman should be cooking and cleaning. I am the breadwinner. I also think Danny, who was paired with Deck, if you had to do a shot for every single time he says, I think as a man, you got to shake my hand like a gentleman, like us as a man, like we do this is how you do things. I was like, what?
Yeah.
What do you mean as a man? Like, as a man, if you shake my hand, what the fuck does that? It actually it made me so annoyed. But these guys were just so appalling.
So yeah, I like wondering why people get this platform. Why have these people been chosen? Like one of two things. Either one, the producers know that it's rage bait. They know that this is what brings in the masses, this is what sparks conversation, and that's what's going to make the show a success. So either it's rage bait or the producers are in agreement and they're like, cool, let's just have this talked about a bit more, because
I don't know, because I think so I think there's a couple things, especially, and I know we've kind of been talking about MAFS a lot, but it seemed to be this season none of them were well matched, apart from Stella and Philip, who seem to be now getting married themselves.
yeah.
But every single other one of them, you're like watching it, and it was the same with last season, even the season before. You were like, these guys have nothing in common. Why have you paired them? You've paired them because you think that will be a good rating.
Yeah.
That's the reason why. It's not after any sort of love here. And especially with people like Chris and like Tyson in particular, one of the experts, John, said to him, you were an extremely difficult person to match. Why then is he picked on the show out of other people? And as well with there's two Chris's. The first Chris, who was such a villain, and then they kind of gave him like this hero edit at the end, but it didn't really work. The second Chris was this is the first gay couple on MAFS Australia in years. And he was going on this show already having been a sperm donor to a lesbian couple, and he was going to be like involved in that family, but not as necessarily a father figure, but very, very closely involved with raising that child. And then he had a surrogate pregnant with his child, who he was essentially pregnant with two children, and he was selected as one of the only gay contestants to be allowed to go on Married at First Sight.
That's insane. Like,
Would they have let a pregnant woman on the show? Absolutely fucking not.
yeah, yeah,
Why are
yeah,
you
yeah.
doing that? What, like, it was setting this relationship up for failure.
Yeah, I think kind of more the fact that he had donated sperm to a lesbian couple, I think that's a different thing. But him having a surrogate because he wanted to become a father, that is wow. Whatever happened with him and his partner?
They didn't last. They
Oh,
didn't. Now he was also a little bit mad. Like he was also a little bit crazy. And no, sorry, no, he wasn't crazy. He was also
yeah.
a little bit. They weren't well matched. I mean, on paper they were both. They both wanted to move outside the city and live on a farm,
Mm.
and they both owned a gym. So there was that. But
Yeah.
apart from that, like they're
And
gay
it's
guys
the,
who like working out in the
yeah,
outdoors. Like, sorry,
yeah,
go
yeah.
out and scoop up a bunch of them in Sydney. Like, you'll be fine.
Yeah, yeah. And so it's the experts that are doing the matching in maths.
So I think it's the producers will cast them, and then
Yeah.
the experts will match up out of a
With
group
what
of
the pool
them.
that they have. Yeah.
I
So it's
think
not
so.
necessarily
Not
what like
necessarily.
it
Confirmed.
wouldn't be your perfect match, but it's the perfect match in this tiny pool.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so. That seems definitely what it would appear to be. And I think even including a character like Chris shows that this particular television show
Yeah.
isn't looking looking for them to find love with that Chris. You know, that's an extremely difficult position to put anyone dating in, is that they're going to be a father in
Yeah.
like 5 months.
Yeah.
Also, how is that a good idea that you're like going on this television show and you're interrupting and disrupting your life when you're about to welcome in a child and rear it?
Yeah. Also, how long do you go on the show for? Like how long
Three
you
months
film?
if you're there from the
How
beginning.
long?
Yeah.
Like yikes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a poor choice.
Crazy. And then you
Yeah.
have Tyson and Chris. Chris, I think I can't even remember all the stuff that he said because he was so shocking, but also he was just such a dud. Like he was so boring. But Tyson was so sexist, and he was kind of paired with someone who was also like, because she said her values would also be that she would like to, like, she had a career and she wanted to keep going with her career, but you know she liked traditional values, and she didn't like woke culture. She also said she didn't have a problem with Donald Trump, and it was like, these are
These
very
people are out there though, like these people are out there. Like
you wanted to hate her as well, but then as it went through, she really stood her ground with this guy, and he just could not take it. And everything that came out of his mouth was just dripping with offensive language.
God.
Like he literally said about the gay couple, as long as it's behind closed doors, I don't care. It was essentially don't ask, don't tell, was what this guy was
Oh,
saying.
oh my God.
He's not going
Like
to find love with anyone. Why is he allowed on that show?
no, that's very problematic. That's hate speech.
Yeah.
That's like yeah.
Or
That's
so you were saying that you were like, either, it's for clicks, or
yeah,
is
it's
it
rage bait or it's pushing an agenda.
do you think it's potentially showcasing how ridiculous this opinion is to make other
Oh,
people, like, to make other
like
people realize how awful
let them
it
make a
is?
fool of themselves kind of thing.
Yeah. What do you think?
Which is so that's what you remember, like the Louis Theroux Manosphere documentary.
Mhm.
So that there was an argument there being made that these people shouldn't be given the platform that Louis Theroux has given them. But then the counter argument to that was let them make fools of themselves because because they are. So yeah, I suppose there's a question there. Yeah, or expose themselves for the fools that they are.
That's kind of what I thought.
Yeah.
But in the same breath, there's a lot of stuff that they said, and even in the year before, there was someone who he got really angry. There was like a lovely couple. They were so in love. He got angry one night and he punched a hole in the wall. And he
Jesus.
was so apologetic about it. And it was this whole thing. And they were like, oh, I know it was wrong, blah, blah, blah. I'm so sad. He should have been kicked off that show immediately.
Yeah, that's dangerous. Violent.
It was
Yeah.
so violent. And again, said she was okay, blah, blah, blah. No. An immediate line
Yeah.
should have been drawn there, and he should have been told to leave the show. And I think if anyone watching that show then thought, yeah, this is an okay way to behave as long as I repent, and they do something to a woman or anyone, I think that show is to blame because you've given them that platform without properly dealing with it, with just kind of giving a slap on the wrist and sending you on your merry way. I don't think that's enough.
That's so true. Ugh.
But another reason that we were saying you would go on the show is to get clout.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Like, is to get followers.
Yeah.
This, in Married at First Sight in particular, was the least followed. The contestants had the least amount of followers gained out of any other season.
That's crazy. And is that a shift though in our behavior as consumers and watchers of TV and reality TV, or our behavior on social media as well? Like, we're saturated. There's so many people, there's so much content out there, there's so much to consume. Do you really want to follow more people? Do you really want to follow, especially these people that are so fleeting on a reality TV show? They really want to make me fall in love with them for me to want to go follow them. Because taking Selling Sunset as an example, I said that I enjoy it. I don't follow them. Because I feel like the characters on a TV show, I don't really care about their like until the next season comes out. I'm like, cool, okay, whatever.
I think it is. I think you've hit the nail on the head there. I think it is a pattern because even we've seen like Traders Ireland in particular, sure, they got no followers, like maybe a little bit more on TikTok, but they didn't, a couple of them do, but they get around 20,000 followers. And that's what happened with this season of Married at First Sight Australia. They were getting, like, I think Beck, Gia, and obviously Alyssa, she had loads of followers. I think they kind of had the highest of 70 to maybe like 100,000. I think Luke actually, got the most amount of followers. He's one of the guys. I think he's 100,000 followers on Instagram, which, okay, yeah, it's a lot of followers. However, not that many followers, considering a couple of years ago they were getting 500,000 followers.
Yeah.
And 100,000 followers isn't enough to get a brand deal. It's not enough to have this influencer, content creator lifestyle anymore.
Yeah.
It's just simply, it's kind of turning into a micro influencer. So is it worth it? Is it worth going on this for clout when you're not getting that clout? Like, some of them are walking out with 20,000 followers. You know?
I suppose, well, where did they start? You know, like, is it 20,000 brand new followers?
Probably around 15, I'd imagine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, don't get me wrong, it's obviously it's a lot of followers. We don't have 15,000 followers.
Yeah.
But if they really wanted it, surely they could. Is that worth it? Is the trade-off that they've given? Beck lost her job because they didn't like her behavior on Married at First Sight.
Whoa, seriously? What was her job?
She was I can't remember. She was some, like, in an office, and it was a new role. And they said, "Look, you're obviously not a good fit," and she lost her job.
Was there someone who was a social worker or something?
That was Gia. Yes, she said she was like, I haven't done that in years. But then she also said that she was a nurse in one of the episodes. I don't know. I don't know what she said. But loads of people do go on with these roles and like looking after or caring for people, and a lot of them don't get work after.
Oh yeah, like, because I remember that being discussed.
Yeah,
among the women saying like she can't be caring for people. She's an asshole.
Essentially. And then there was an interview where she said, like, that's not my job. I don't know why they kept doing that line. But then she mentioned it in one of the episodes. So they know, I don't know. It's all very weird.
Yeah.
And it's all very different. It's all very evolving. And I think if anything we've seen, I think people are going away from that rage bait, because I think we kind of seem to have like less and less time, and there's all this kind of stuff like second screen is a big thing. People are watching two things at the same time. And I think when something is so angry, and also the MAFS episodes are long, they're over an hour long.
That's what made it so like unappealing for me to start watching, is that they're so long and so packed with filler. Like, it's just shorten them down. It's the way I feel about everything on TV though these days, is like, please let's just condense them and make them compelling the whole way through, instead of trying to bloat everything out and make it. Don't create content as a second screen. Don't create TV content as a second screen. Please just try and steal all of our attention, because it's boring to watch something that is second screen content.
It is. And I think we're seeing that come out in reality shows now. Like The Traitors isn't really second screen. And we're seeing some more, and The Traitors is a different type of reality TV. You know, it's not really about love. It's not really necessarily about fame. A lot of people don't follow them afterwards because they're not shiny or new, but they are authentic, and
But
that's
you
what
make money.
people want. Yeah, you
In the
win.
traders. That's
Exactly.
the goal, right?
That's the
Yeah.
goal.
So I mean, that's reason to go on it because it's a game show.
Yeah.
Like the chance to win something.
And now we see that with The Neighborhood, which is a new ITV show hosted by Graham Norton that has gotten awful reviews. But we're
Oh
going to see loads
no.
of, we're going to see loads of
Yeah.
like kind of copycats of a new type of reality TV, I think, come out.
Yeah.
But it seems to be less of like, I don't know, less of hate and love and bitchiness and more of intrigue and seeing how
Yeah.
people behave and
Yeah.
friendships and human behavior.
Well, that's what's interesting about reality TV is the human behavior of it all. So where had we left off and where do we want to pick up? What do we want to tease out more?
Okay, so we really did just get into why a lot of the men who are on shows like Married at First Sight and these reality TV dating shows are allowed on when they have a history of violence, or not even a history, the language that they speak isn't acceptable. So we were just kind of talking, our listeners will have just heard this, but for us, we were chatting there about Tyson and Chris of this season of MAFS Australia. And now BBC's Panorama documentary has come out about MAFS UK, which does highlight a lot of what we were talking about, and there's a lot of sad stuff to come involved in this.
Do you want to give an overview?
Yeah, so this episode as well, we recorded this, and then literally that night there were articles being like, BBC's episode of Panorama is going to expose Married at First Sight, and I was like, we just recorded this episode, but this isn't necessarily new information, as we kind of discussed throughout this episode. There's been a lot of controversy surrounding MAFS in general, especially over in Australia. A lot of the contestants highlight how producers kind of make them say stuff. They say they've been led to do X, Y, Z. And I don't think it's a shock that when it comes down to it, this has also happened in the case of sexual misconduct and intimacy between contestants. So in the documentary, 3 brides of Married at First Sight UK have come forward to say that they were either sexually assaulted, raped, and physically abused on Married at First Sight UK.
Absolutely, that's so disgraceful. Also, are they referred to as brides in the documentary? How are they referred to? I didn't pick. Well, they are called the brides and the husbands. So as in the wife, and they're referred to as woman A and woman B, and then the third woman, Shona, has come forward and she's talked about it. So she's the only person that's happy to be named. The other 2 women don't. So this is the thing. CPL, which are the company that produces Married at First Sight UK, so similar to a different company that does it over in Australia, who have all the controversy surrounding them, they say that their vetting process is gold standard. They do a lot of work with the contestants. They have, therapists on site and everything to support the contestants as they go. And I understand that it was gold standard maybe up until a certain point, but as we hear these stories come out, and we'll get into now in a sec, I think it's really important to bear in mind that I think CPL and the industry as a whole were maybe being a little bit naive when they think, well, we have all these measures in place. In what world do you have, and then in this case it is a woman, obviously can be a man as well, a woman who is being abused in this new situation, in this weird environment that she's not used to, being completely open and fine with telling another stranger that, yeah, no, I am being abused and I am being hurt. This doesn't happen in regular day life. Why do they think that it would happen so easily and so quickly in TV land? Yeah, as it that a woman feels comfortable enough to come forward and make a complaint. Yeah.
And if they, because eventually the women did talk to the respective women in different ways, did address CPL and say, no, this wasn't consensual, this wasn't okay. And they have come out in their response and said, no, we did our duty of care here. We were told, and our representatives were told, that they were fine and that everything was okay. Whereas, yeah, because these women are being abused and they don't feel safe. Like, what should have happened in any situation where something like what happened, and we'll get into that in a sec, should be, well, we're pulling you guys from the show. And that is what happened with Shona and Brad, to be fair. So basically,
I would imagine that there's reasons why people don't come forward in situations of abuse, and it's the thought of losing out on something can be one of them. And if you have put yourself, if there's some reason that you want to be on this show and you know you're going to be pulled from the show, maybe that's a bit of a reason why people are letting these things slide.
Exactly. And it makes, and you can see exactly how that would happen, both in real life and in TV land. Then add the pressure of, well, it's jobs, it's money, we've done this amount, it's fine, don't worry about it. We've all seen in whatever work circumstance, just get it done, it's fine, they're grand.
Yep.
And not doing the right thing. And this is what happened here. So Shona is, again, the only bride that's come out and said what happened to her.
I think it's a woman. I don't know, bride is kind of giving me a bit of a cult vibe.
Oh, okay, very fair, very fair. So Shona, the woman, who has come out. So she was paired with Brad. He was kind of this meditation specialist, right?
Okay.
And they started off very nice. I actually did watch this season. I can't remember it whatsoever, but I do remember him and not liking him. I thought he gave bad vibes from the beginning. Through the course of their relationship, the experts called out Brad on his controlling behavior throughout the entire thing.
Okay.
Then it escalated at this one dinner party where Brad and Shona got in a bit of a fight. And then that night they were having consensual sex, and she says this as well. And then they decided from the get-go that they would use the pull-out method. So she wasn't on the pill, he wasn't using a condom, it would be the pull-out method. And then he decided to ejaculate inside her. Yes. And she said, like, when it was coming to that point, she was like, okay, get out, like, get out. And he didn't. So consent was withdrawn in that.
Yeah.
Very, very clearly. He denies any wrongdoing. That's what his lawyer has come out to say. She, after this incident, she did flag it to the powers that be at CPL to help her kind of move through this. And then eventually, if that was kind of happening behind the scenes, and then also what was happening on screen, as in the expert saying, Brad, no, you're controlling. You're saying, well, she won't do this, and I made her do this. And Mel, the expert who's recently passed away, she said, no, there's no, she needs to do that. There's no need, she wants to do this. She is her own person. You cannot control her. That's controlling behavior. And they decided this relationship wasn't functional, and they pulled them out of the experiment, and they told them to go. So that's what happened with them.
Okay.
I would imagine the consent being withdrawn maybe was a catalyst to production making that call, because we haven't seen that happen anywhere else. The second two women, I don't want to confuse their stories here, but both of them used the word rape. They were both raped by their partner. One, as soon as they got back from the honeymoon and they were in their apartment, he was physically abusive. She has like bruises on her body from every time they would engage in intercourse, either consensually, and then it slowly but surely progressed into non-consensual very rough rape. And then the other woman said that he said, oh, let's have sex, and she said, no, I don't want to, and he continued to open her legs and rape her anyway. And she said she just completely disassociated. She just kind of looked to the side, and he stopped and he was like, what are you doing? Are you not enjoying it? And she said,
no,
I told you I didn't want to do this. And he said, well, and then he stopped and he said, well, you're making me feel like a rapist.
Oh yeah, you are.
Well, I told you I did not want to have sex, and he proceeded to have sex with me anyway. And they got in a big fight. Rape.
Yeah.
It was also interesting the language they used in the documentary.
It was interesting. What did they say?
So they said had sex with me, but also, so it was actors reading the words of these women, because these women were, and some of the details were omitted and changed to protect their privacy. But both of them have said, both of them said the therapist actually was the first person to use the word rape, rather than them, one of the women said, when the therapist used the word rape, she thought she was always denying it because she thought, no, I don't want to be one of the women where that happened to me.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, and she was like, and she kind of disassociated from it that way. Eventually, I think they were kind of moved into different parts. But the woman who did have bruises, when she went to production about it, like photographs were taken of her bruises, etc., etc. All this kind of stuff that does normally happen in the follow up to a rape. But CPL's statement came out and said that they were told that this was the result of rough consensual sex.
Oh my God.
And I think that is a complete lack of duty of care. If
100%.
Coming to you saying, I have bruises, and they're saying, is it consensual? And you're going, yeah. They're coming to you saying, I have bruises from this. It's not consensual.
And if someone's coming to you saying that they have bruises from something, can you not read between the lines? They need more people that are more trained up in noticing these things, in noticing abusive situations, because it's hard to ask for help. And if someone is coming to you saying, I have bruises, and I'm like, they're coming, that's a cry for help. They're asking for help, and they're afraid to use all the words that actually describe it. So it sounds like that's what's really lacking in Married at First Sight in particular.
Yeah.
But that's what's been uncovered. That's horrifying.
Horrifying. And I think this has been the sentiment, obviously, across the world. And some of the response, especially to Shona, because obviously she's publicly come out and put her name behind it. You know, there's all these horrendous comments saying, "Oh, you know, you're just looking for your fame or whatever." No, that's not what happened here. You don't get your name absolutely dragged through the mud for anything like that. And BBC did ask the women who came forward why they're coming forward now, and they said, "I'm sick of seeing this happen to more brides. More women are going on the show." And they're put in these vulnerable situations again. I can't see it happen again. Both of them haven't come. Three of them haven't gone to the police to file anything against these men. They are more so having an injunction against Channel 4. So they don't want the whole course case about it, which I also think you respect. But they just want reality television to change.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Because one thing I'd love to know, as someone who doesn't necessarily watch the show, and maybe I'll have a different lens now after all kind of we've talked about, but if you cast your mind back to, I think it was the first episode where we talked about how one of the contestants, Mel, of this season of MAFS Australia, she was the one who wanted her pink and wanted her blue, and your man Luke forgot the rings, and production kind of did this whole thing. So Mel wasn't into Luke. Like everyone watching it loved Luke. I think he's the contestant with the most amount of followers from the entire season. I was obsessed with him. Great for Luke. However, Mel just wasn't into him. And one thing she did mention was during intimacy week, which is the second or third week on the show, where you're kind of encouraged to dress up sexually for your partner and kiss and get involved. You're encouraged to do that. She said, this is actually really awkward because I'm not into this person. I don't want to do this. And when you have it's all meant to be like, oh, you know, you're pushing forward this relationship on this really fast-tracked scale, and that's the point of the show. It's the point of the show. Money. But if you're not into your partner and you're kind of being forced to do that, of course you see situations like this where both men and women are being put in positions where they don't want to engage in intimacy.
Well, biology of men and women are very different. And if a man is being told it's intimacy week and it's time that you make this relationship intimate, is that giving some sort of permission?
Is it?
Like, sorry, that's fucking gross. That is a thing. This intimacy week. I like, ugh. Gross.
I don't thought is that much of a thing until recently. It's kind of shed a bit of a light that we all really probably should have been seeing.
Yeah. Like,
It's gross.
yeah. Oh my God. I have questions just on, and I don't know if the BBC, if Panorama like touched on this or covered this at all. What do these men, what are their backgrounds? Do they have any police reports against them? Do they, like, what kind of vetting and background checks had been done? Like, assuming everyone's been background checked.
Woman A and B who are staying anonymous. We don't have any details of them because it would give away of who those women were.
No, not the women, the men. Their partners. Of course, I know we don't know who their names are. We don't know anything. But in terms of background, like,
So there is a thorough background check, but as we know, I'm not entirely sure, but I read something about one of the husbands I won't name, and I'll say allegedly here, but I'm pretty sure. But
yeah,
previous contestants of both MAFS UK and Australia have had history of violence and convictions made against them, either be it sexually or physical violence.
any kind of violent behavior, it shouldn't be acceptable. These people shouldn't be allowed
They shouldn't.
on TV. And that also doesn't discount all the number of people who've had violent behavior who don't have police report histories. Like, we know how underreported these crimes go.
Exactly. And this season of Mass Australia, because I think what is quite interesting with Shona and Brad, for example, so Shona, the woman that spoke forward, Brad was removed because, according to reports, because of this controlling behavior. And Women's Aid over here came out and said this is not okay. For example, he told her to shut up during a commitment ceremony. He also said that he used words like allowing her to be upset, and he was called up for using those words. And then they were, as I said, they were told to move on. Whereas that happened in MAFS Australia, and that was no one was ever told to leave. So you can kind of see how a little bit more ahead the UK is in those regards, probably because
Yeah.
of the deaths on Love Island.
Yeah.
Um,
I think that there's probably a few things at play here. I feel like, producers, they're looking for a dramatic storyline. They're looking for character arcs to sell and to get more eyeballs and to get bigger views and more virality, etc. So they know that someone who's controlling, sorry, not controlling, someone who is exhibiting controlling behavior is going to get people talking, and they're more concerned about their ratings than they are about the safety of people. And I imagine that the experts' opinions aren't being listened to.
I would imagine the exact same, and I think we saw a perfect example of that in the season of Married at First Sight, Australia. If you listen to the Maths Funny podcast with the presenter's name is Josh, he talks about how I don't know if you know him, Aoife, but he's kind of the showbiz reporter around maths. He always knows where the weddings are, and he'll go and he'll get content with them. And the producers all tell the contestants, do not talk to Josh. Don't give him anything. Leave him alone. But Josh's videos do really well. So obviously they all know who he is. They all send him messages saying we're going to be here. We're going to be that to get a little bit of content. And he does his own little podcast going into all the big details about it because he has all the inside goss. And it's a really good podcast. I go recommend you have a listen.
If you're into maths.
If you're into maths. But there was this infamous, do you remember icebergs in Bondi?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was this night at icebergs, very beginning of this season, where Josh was invited to.
Sorry, for those who don't know icebergs, it is it's a members only pool. It's a swimming pool that's filled with seawater on Bondi Beach, but it has I think it's got really nice facilities around it, and it's kind of an exclusive, from my memory, it's an exclusive members spot.
Oh, okay. The vibe that it seemed to be was a bit like messy as well. Really messy night. But loads of them went and met Josh, and they had and loads of things kind of came out about it. But one of the things that came out from it was Chris, who was one of the first contestants this season, who was very misogynistic, really like unkind behavior. He was the one that said, no fat people, give me a brunette with legs. All this kind of horrible stuff. He threatened the reporter Josh.
Okay.
So basically, what happened was Josh was invited, as was, I think, someone from either the Mirror or the Sun or someone like that was also there, and they were all kind of having drinks. And then paparazzi also turned up, and all of the cast allegedly reacted like they were A-list celebs, and they were like, "No, we can't be spotted, can't be spotted." They were asking icebergs if they could go through the back to get out, like they were, Brad Pitt actually, them, another person with violent behavior, allegedly, but, they, not Angelina, but they kind of acted up in a tizzy. They end up leaving, and paparazzi were taking pictures, and Chris, according to Josh, was very aggressive towards him, threatened him that he would kill him or something like that. Really violent, really aggressive. Josh was a little bit shaken. I think he got a call from him or something saying something like this as well. Again, you'll have to listen to the podcast. My details aren't right. So again, allegedly. But Josh then went to the Married at First Sight production team. I can't remember their name, but it's the equivalent of CPL over here. Saying, this is what happened. Your contestant was violent and threatened to hurt me. So what are you going to do about it? He got no response. As of today, still, to the best of my knowledge, that he hasn't said publicly, he got no response. He went to the police about it to talk about what would you do, and they said, we can file something here. We can send them a letter to say this has happened, but we would really recommend it, and we can keep it on file. But if you pursue it, it's going to be a whole thing. Like, production will probably have to stop, and it will go to court. This is what's going to happen. We recommend that you do, but it's your decision. We're just giving you the full context. So he said, no, I actually don't think he's going to kill me. It's okay, but I'm not going to pursue this, but I do want to see if their production team comes out and does everything about it. He emailed, again, all this details to I can't remember her name, but like the head of the company, and she did nothing. This man was still on the show, even though while filming, he had threatened a member of the press.
And did they have that on camera, on audio, and anything? Like, is there proof that he said?
He recorded the phone call.
Josh did.
Yeah. I think, allegedly. So that was, or no, sorry, he didn't record the phone call. He wrote it down immediately. Something like that.
If it's not, like, he can deny it. He can say he didn't do it.
He can't deny it, but they never even acknowledged it.
Yeah.
So, and they never, from what it seems, investigated it. So is this duty of care when violence comes into it that I think it appears that in a lot of reality TV, and this isn't just MAFS, it is kind of across the board. CPL is used by like ITV. I think they're also used by the BBC on some occasions. Like, they are this huge production company that is, I think, one of the gold standards. But they did drop the ball, I think we can, in my opinion. And it just comes down to how much are you willing to put people through to get ratings and to get viewings.
Yeah.
And where's the line?
Well, I mean, looking back to, we kind of touched on it at the end of the previous episode, how horrendous, how reality TV had such a really dark and twisted time. Like, and then that horrific show, There's Something About Miriam, like that jumped over the line and ran so far past the line that now, like, these days, people would be appalled at that. So I hope that there is a time in the future where we're looking back at this part of the reality TV era and going, oh my God, I cannot believe that there wasn't enough of a duty of care to ensure that all the contestants were not violent.
Do you want to,
or weren't?
What was There's Something About Miriam?
Yeah, for those of you who don't remember, There's Something About Miriam. It was a reality TV show, kind of like a Bachelorette style, where they had a woman named Miriam, on a stunning woman named Miriam on, I think, on an island. I can't remember the full details, but in some tropical location with all these men vying for her heart. So she was the prize of the show. And the twist was that she was transgender woman. And that was what There's Something About Miriam was. And then, so there's actually, we referenced this podcast as well. It's a really good podcast by Pandora Sykes, and one other host, where they're talking, that I apologize, I cannot remember her name. But it's called Unreal, a critical review of reality TV through the ages, but they dive into this and they go through the full history of There's Something About Miriam. But I think in the last episode, I think there was 2 or 3 contestants left and Miriam, so they were the final 3, and they were told that she was transgender. And then it followed their reactions and how they felt and how they responded to it. And that is unfair on everybody. Like,
what happened to Miriam, do we know?
Well, unfortunately, Miriam died by suicide. Miriam, yeah. So they completely took advantage of Miriam. Like yeah, that poor woman.
And that death, I would say that death is on the production company's hands.
Yeah, 100%.
But then, so isn't The Bachelor US, is this not kind of happening again now, even with all of this kind of going on?
Yeah, it's definitely worth mentioning the controversy around The Bachelor US this year. I didn't follow it massively, but I do remember hearing about it. It was that there's a new series of The Bachelorette that was supposed to star Taylor Frankie Paul, who you might know from The Secret Lives of the Mormon Wives. So she had been in a long-term relationship, I believe, with her boyfriend, Dakota Mortensen. But there was a video that was published by TMZ in 2023 that was a security video that showed her being, very physically violent towards Dakota Mortensen. And the video included putting him in a headlock and throwing bar stools at him while her younger daughter was nearby. So they pulled that season of The Bachelorette after that video was published.
I thought they announced that they were going to go ahead and air it.
What did they? So hours after the video surfaced, ABC and Disney pulled the plug on the upcoming season to take a firm stance against domestic violence. But the cancellation cost the network tens of millions of dollars in marketing licensing fees. But she previously she had previously pleaded guilty to felony aggravated assault for the 2023 incident.
So why was she picked as the Bachelorette?
Why was she picked as the Bachelorette? Exactly.
It's not okay. And it's this thing, I think you see it happening, look, across the board with everything when it comes to like acting and any sort of thing in the limelight, is people tend to pick a marquee name over maybe a better choice. But when it's just it's criminals and it's putting people at risk. And there's another story I'm thinking of there, but I'll have to tell you off pod because I think it's happening now. But there's nothing like that awful, but like just like behavior not being up to standard. I think it's kind of just rampant across the entire industry. And I think we've seen, like, at the end of the Unreal documentary, they say, what is this the downfall of reality television? Is this going to be the end of it? What are we going to see? And that was how many years ago now? Like 5?
This is in 2023. No, sorry.
Oh,
I actually think I had checked before. I think it's 2000 and let's see, Unreal. Because I remember listening to it when I was in. Sorry, it's 2022 is when it was.
So 4 years ago.
4 years ago.
We have like this is. It hasn't really changed.
Has it? Yeah.
People are going to be subject to violence, like we mentioned in Married at First Sight Australia last year. The woman who was her husband punched a hole in the wall, and that couple stayed on the show. You have Shona and Brad coming out. These other 2 women are staying anonymous. How many more people are going to have to pay the price for these production companies just wanting to make a buck? And at what point do the watchdogs come in and or Ofcom come in and say no more?
Yeah, I mean, we actually, it seems that maybe reality TV does not work in terms of it can be very entertaining, yes, but it's not good for the contestants' mental health. It's not good. It doesn't attract the right type of person. And you can never guarantee the safety of people that, and you can never guarantee the safety of the contestants, because there's no way of ruling out that anyone has any kind of history of violence.
Because one thing, and I'd love to hear what you think on this.
Sorry, rather, there's no way of ruling out that people don't have a history of violence.
There just isn't. One contestant from Married at First Sight Australia this year, they weren't aired and they weren't even brought on to the show, because once it kind of announced who the cast were, his ex came forward with a whole bunch of evidence of how he was abusive, and they just scrapped those two right from the get-go. But they obviously, their duty of care and their checks aren't good enough that they didn't find out all of this before he was filmed.
Yeah.
So how are your background checks going?
Yeah.
If you're not finding this out, obviously not very far.
Yeah.
But on the no way to find out if someone is violent, or there's no way to kind of control their consent. So Love Island do a thing where apparently beside every single bed there is a button. So obviously Love Island, there's cameras everywhere, so you're being monitored. And before any kissing or canoodling happens, both couples have to press the consent button, so producers know that it's consensual.
Yeah, that's good. But then consent can be withdrawn at any point, as per Shona's.
Yes, that's what I thought. And I said, well, now you kind of have this thing of going, well, she agreed to it. I'm like, yeah, well, did you make her push the button?
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
And can you untap it? Can you tap it and take the consent,
I think it's a nice idea. And then there's one other show, actually, I can't remember the details of this. I can't remember who was telling me. Actually could have been the MAFS Josh Funny podcast. But there's some other show where let's say they'd start kissing or whatever. This specific director and producer would say, okay, cut, and they'd immediately go over, both of them would be separated and say, do you want to be kissed right now? Do you want to be filmed this? Are you feeling comfortable? Blah, blah, blah. And it would break up the scene in the moment. But he was like, I just as clear as day while you're being filmed. But they were being filmed as much as they are in the likes of Married at First Sight, Love Island, etc. I can't remember what show that was at all, so that's probably not useful. But it's interesting.
It's so interesting. And then it makes me think of that America's Next Top Model expose that came out, where that episode about that poor woman who was too drunk to consent and then was made film. That was made film phoning her boyfriend saying that she cheated on him when she was too drunk to consent to any of what went on, and the producers just went ahead and filmed it, and apparently felt shit about it.
I don't care if you felt shit about it. Like, stop it.
Yeah, stop it.
Just stop it. And
yeah.
At what point are we putting down our humanity just for fear? And not that we have anything to tie. There's no bow to tie around this episode, but
yeah.
I think it is that thing of reality TV. I think it's becoming more accessible these days with the change in formats. It's less about love. We see like the rise of the Traitors and the Neighborhood and all that these kind of shows coming out. And maybe we think, oh, it's kind of more the everyday person. It seems to be the everyday person in the first season or two, and then things change. So if you're thinking about going on reality TV, just remember, you're not in control. You're in a different environment. Look after yourself. Mental health is the most important. And to those women, or if anyone has been affected by anything we talked about in this podcast, Women's Aid is really good.
There are supports available. Women's Aid, Samaritans, and we'll put some in the show notes.
Yeah.
But also remember, if you are offended by something, we can vote with our eyeballs and take your attention away. If you do think reality TV in certain formats shouldn't be on TV, then if we don't engage, they lose. So
I do think Married at First Sight. Well, UK, I think that's done. Married at First Sight Australia, I think also it's going to be a natural decline. I think they'll still do the next season, but I don't think they're going to have people watching it to the same level, at least over here.
Yeah. Fascinating stuff. But there's some recommendations in there for you to listen to. Unreal, the podcast, and then also, I know I had mentioned it, is Unreal, the TV show on Amazon Prime.
So good. It is really, really good. It gives you some good insight. But again, details of any support groups are in the show notes. we have one more episode next week, and then we'll be taking a short little break.
Ooh. How long are we taking a break for? I don't want to take a break.
Okay, we won't. Season 3.
Woo!
Coming out. Woohoo! Look at us. Season 3. Da, da, da.
I don't think we call them seasons on Spotify, but here we are.
Not. Well, I am. Okay, well, I'll call you back.
Well,
love you.
I'm going to call you back. Okay, bye.
Bye.